About emergency surgery, limited amount of time, and a lot of work to get done. Meanwhile, back in the staging area once again, it is Thomas against Moss, and these guys will decide the World Championship.
They could very well decide it here. Oh, Moss almost clipped Thomas. Thomas shuts it down. Greg Moss with an easy win. He'll move into the finals with a 661, 218 miles per hour. But we've got to have another look at that, Bob. Look at the car hopping and jumping. Thomas has lost control. Now Moss starts moving over in the middle. Almost crossed that center line and clipped Thomas. Stayed off of it, though, and managed to get the car straightened out. Moved on for the win.
Wow, what a heart attack, as Greg Moss, the points leader, might have been looking out his window at the tribulations of the man in the right lane, Mark Thomas. But Thomas shuts it off, and Moss moves on to the final and hopes to add to his points lead. There he will meet Bob Newberry, who had an easy time of it when Ronnie Midyett fouled, and Newberry will keep lane choice over Moss when they meet in the Alcohol Funny Car Final. Now here's Brett Kepner with a track back.
One goals of any International Highway Association event is the safety of the competitors on the racetrack. But there's another aspect of the safety of this operation at IHRA races that a lot of people never see. That's the mobile hospital unit that's usually located directly behind the timing tower at IHRA events. Well, this vehicle is an amazing piece of equipment in that it is fully staffed. It has virtually every type of equipment that could be used for any medical emergency. It's virtually an emergency room on wheels.
That's exactly right. The vehicle's been modified to provide an emergency care unit that is essentially the same as a fully staffed emergency room at a level 2 hospital. It's staffed with board-certified emergency room physicians or surgeons, nurses, and paramedics. So we have a representation of all the disciplines that are involved with acute and emergency management of medical issues.
With so many people attending IHRA events throughout the year, it's amazing that this crew isn't more busy than they already are. But no matter whether you're a spectator, a racer, a crewman, even one of the IHRA officials, it seems like everybody is covered in an IHRA race thanks to this incredible mobile hospital unit.
Thank you, Brett, and hopefully we never have to see it used. Final round action coming up in all of our Bro classes when we return to the Loctite Nationwide. Back at Norwalk Raceway Park, where it's time for final round action in Pro Stock. And the upsets have continued. The number 11 qualifier, Pat MUSI, has come all the way to the final round to face the number 9 qualifier, Larry Morgan.
Morgan turned in a very respectable 750 in the previous round. Pat MUSI could only muster a 754. So MUSI has to find 400ths of a second somewhere, Bob.
Well, that just shows you how close the competition is in Pro Stock, that these guys were so close to the top qualifiers that virtually all of the guys in the top half of the draft got knocked off, and it looks like MUSI has fouled in the final round. Larry Morgan will have a walk over to the championship.
MUSI was trying to get that 400s out of the tree and couldn't do it, so Larry Morgan wins Pro Stock Eliminator here today.
We move on now to Nitro Funny Car, where you're going to see R.C. Sherman, who is hoping to make up ground on points leader Doc Holliday, who is already out of the competition. He lost in the semifinals to Kenny Bernstein, and that is who R.C. Sherman will face right now.
Well, on Bernstein's mind has to be a problem. It's called E.T. Bernstein ran a 564 in the most previous round, but hurt the engine. R.C. Sherman ran a 552.
Both cars away clean. Little bobble there for Bernstein in the left lane, and they go right to the line. Too close to call. The electronic timer says
R.C. Sherman. Sherman upsets Bernstein in the final of 550, 268 miles per hour. Bernstein a losing 554. Look at this rerun. Bernstein out first. Goes up into smoke coming off the concrete pad. Still ahead of Sherman, though. Sherman in the last 50 feet will pull it out by inches.
I know you got to be happy.
Yeah, we are. Especially for Ray Bestis and Pontiac and the crew, especially. Doug Dragoo and Pat Murphy and Bill Pantier and all the guys that have helped. Especially for Nick Bonifant, because this car hasn't used a part all weekend.
It was another 550 round, 254 miles an hour. Bernstein did smoke the tires fairly heavily, haze the tires at least, about 200 feet down. But from that point on, this thing never wavered.
I know. I knew that the consistency was going to win it for us. And I knew that if I tried to outrun him, it was going to bite us.
I'll tell you, there's a very happy crew coming, and I got to admit that you told us in the pits that that's the way you were going to handle it, was with consistency, and it worked.
Nothing like knocking off the king of the hill to make your day. Now in alcohol funny cars, Greg Moss, who has already put away his points rival Mark Thomas, will go into the final against probably the fastest man in the class anywhere in the country, Bob Newberry.
Well, Newberry in the Wheels Discount Auto Supply car has Moss covered by 0.4 of a second.
Newberry in the left lane, Moss in the right lane, and this should be a great drag race. Both cars away cleanly. Newberry gets the front wheels in the air a little bit. They are side by side as they head for the lights, and Newberry takes it.
What a top-end charge. Take a look at the speed on this, 225 miles per hour, and you saw it in the last 200 feet, couples up with a 625 to win the Alcohol Funny Car Championship here today.
Greg definitely gave me a driving lesson, but thank God we had the power today and we calmed it down enough and didn't shake the tires, and 625 was good enough.
It's still amazing to think that 620s are so conservative for you.
Well, the track just has so much heat in it. I mean, we wanted to get after it and maybe try to run an O or maybe even quicker, but one round at a time and just be a consistent race car, and a 625, like I said, was good enough.
So Newberry beats Moss, and that will put Mark Thomas back in the championship hunt. We move on to Top Fuel now, where Gene Snow, the defending world champion, will take on Richard Holcomb.
Snow turned in that brilliant 5:14 on the last round. Richard Holcomb only ran a 5:52.
Two members, in fact, two of the earliest members of the sub-5-second club in Top Fuel racing. Good look there. The eyes are the window to the soul, and the Snowman right now wants this victory. He needs it to try to overhaul the idle Pat Dakin for the IHRA World Championship. Both cars away cleanly. Snowman getting a little sideways, but the tires go up in smoke on Holcomb's car, and that's the difference.
Gene Snow, a 5:22, 267 miles per hour. Holcomb was out way early on Snow, but Snow had the ET in the power when Holcomb went up in smoke.
As the happy crew goes down to collect their man, let's take another look, and Holcomb's tires go up quickly.
There you see the smoke as he comes right off the end of that concrete pad. The same thing Kenny Bernstein did on his final run, and that's all Gene Snow needed to move around him to take the championship. One elated crew.
It's just like old times. You're gone for one race and everybody says, gee, Gene Snow's back. Well, I guess you're definitely back. 5:22, 267 miles an hour. A little bit of tire smoke from Richard Holcomb prevented it from being any closer.
I tell you what, he was out in front of me a little bit. I wasn't surprised that, well, I was surprised he didn't win, really.